Hello, Breakfast Club. It is Tuesday. I am your host, SisterDanger, and tonight I'm going to be putting in a bid for bringing back the chivalric and romantic arts. Before I jump into things, I just want to say that for anybody who has maybe been following along, I did get my trailer, which is now officially known as Fierce the Racing Snail. That is its name. And so I just want to say thank you to anybody that contributed to helping me get the trailer. I'm actually going to leave up my GoFundMe until the end of the month, so like 2 more days. And if you still want to contribute, I'm actually going to put the names of everybody that has contributed to my trailer on it when I paint it like a racing snail. Also, before I get into tonight's topic, some of you may remember from last year, I do this every year. I send out holiday cards. And so if you would like to receive a holiday card from a real fairy, I will put the link to that in the low bar. It's absolutely free. I just like doing that every year. Last year, I got 260 people to whom I sent cards, and I'm trying to beat that number for this year. So please help me do that. Moving into tonight's topic, I'm going to ask you to bear with me as I'm a little bit anecdotal here, but it regards this very pop culture-y, some would say progressive trend of disassociating the meaning of clothing, encouraging your sons to wear girls' clothes and vice versa, etc., right? All of this changing around of things has led me to ponder the effects that clothing has on communication. And it's something that I've kind of been thinking about as somebody who spends an inordinate amount of time dressing up both for fun and for profit. Thank you very much. There's no doubt in my mind that clothes communicate whether we like it or not. And I use that knowledge all the time. When I'm at a show, I'm costumed up. When I am at a gala, it's time to be the beautiful people. When it's a formal event, I'm wearing professional clothing, button-up shirts, slacks, dark colors. My nails are done because I take product pictures for my Etsy store, and nobody wants to buy product when it's being held by a cracked and dry hand with hangnails. When I'm out and about, unless I have some sort of objective in mind, I usually wear what I term as my Cinderella clothes, which means I'm wearing grubby, mismatched clothes from a pile that I have in my room on my table. And I do that because when I'm dressed haphazardly, people don't notice me as much. They don't talk to me. They certainly don't recognize me very easily when I get dressed down versus when I get very dressed up. Although I really like how you can use clothing and makeup to create and shape an image or an idea in the minds of other people, I despise, nevertheless, the judgment that people pass on one another because of the clothing that we wear. Like the cover of a book, clothing is basically window dressing for a whole life's autobiography. There's a whole person inside of whatever those clothes may be, and their story may be very different than what the cover of their book looks like. Although I recognize the power of clothes and how we dress, how we comport and carry ourselves, I think that I was really fortunate in that in high school, I came to disassociate looks and personhood in a really cognizant way. I wore grungy clothes and leggings and huge baggy sweaters, or loose floral dresses and skirts all the way down to my ankles. My mother hated it. She would constantly try to encourage me to wear makeup, to do my hair. She won those battles when it came time to do things like take pictures for school or go to church or do anything formal as a family. But going to high school, I had a lot more leeway, and I definitely spent a lot of that time rebelling against the idea that I had to dress any way or look any certain way, as if that actually had an impact on who I was as a person. So that was something that came to me really early in life, and it stuck with me through my whole life. The awareness of looks and how they impact this, that, their nuances, etc. It's something that I think about a lot, and I try to make a conscious effort to always remember exactly what their purpose is and exactly how deep they really go. Because the utter shallowness and the ease with which you can change how people treat you, I do it all the time. To this day, I can change how people treat me and behave towards me based on nothing more than the clothing that I'm wearing. And I find that distasteful. I really don't like that superficiality. For probably most of history, clothing was very specifically used as a signifier of rank, class, profession, marital status. And there have been times where it's actually illegal for lower classes, yes, against the law, for lower classes to wear clothing or colors that are meant specifically for those of the upper class or of noble birth. Your clothing and how you dressed indicated or communicated to you what your social and legal status was in relation to the people that you're dealing with, because there were different sets of laws for people that had money versus people that didn't. So there have been plenty of times throughout history where there's been two sets of laws, and how you dress sort of indicates to everybody else, who can do what. These aren't those times anymore, though, and as a society, and especially as women, we've worked really hard to discard those ideas, to overcome the restrictions of clothing, if you will. If you want to wear a bikini, wear a bikini. Super short shorts and braless and a tank top, totally fine. Neither of those is an invitation nor permission to be touchy-grabby with another person. And I really agree with this. I agree that your clothing does not mean anything necessarily, right? If you want to wear something short, that doesn't mean that everybody in the world is now permitted to come and, grab you and assault you, grope you, whatever. In exactly the same way that getting all dressed up and looking formal does not make you respectable or moral, or in the same way that wearing a badge doesn't make you right necessarily. Unfortunately, all of the disjoining of clothes with meaning leaves us in this really strange place as society, at least to my observance. It makes it difficult for us to know how to approach and interact with one another. At the same time we're doing away with the meaning of clothing, we've also done away with all of the chivalric arts, or what we would call chivalric arts, because actually what we call chivalric arts have nothing to do with old codes of chivalry, which are pretty terrible, all things considered. Anyway, so, but you're not supposed to open doors. Don't pull out seats. Don't pay for the dinner bill or the taxi cab. All of these things should be Dutch. Don't pick up items if they've been dropped on the ground. Don't tell women that they're beautiful, and don't look at them for too long, right? Just don't. Well, what are you supposed to do? What can we do? Everything that was once a visual cue is being discarded with nothing to replace it. And so, because of that, I find myself contemplating more and more, like in my head, I'm becoming this advocate for a revitalization of all the old art forms of entreating, of social interaction, of courtship, the old gestures. I've always been one for having my door opened and my chair pulled out. I like those things, but if I wasn't already a fan of that kind of stuff before, I really am becoming more of a fan of it now, because where we are drawing a very hard line in the sand about touching one another and how to approach each other sexually, what's okay and what isn't, skill with wordplay and symbolism and writing, using talents like music or lyricism to convey messages and meanings, the Victorian language of flowers, that kind of stuff, right? Those sorts of things used to stand in place of making overt gestures. They were a way for a person to proposition and accept or decline. I mean, I'm all right with society learning that clothes don't really mean all that much, and they especially don't mean consent. But I would like to put in my bid for the re-emergence of the finer arts of interaction and dalliance and courtship, because I do believe that we still need a language between us with which we can bridge those gaps in an appropriate manner that doesn't trespass on anyone one way or the other. So, as always, thank you for listening, and let me know what you think in the comments. I should be back next week, and everybody have an awesome night. I will see you all on the flip side.